Hi, my name is Emeriel Joy B. Angeles, and I will introduce our topic today, that is creating infographics for social campaigns. So, when we say infographic are known as a visual representation of information and data that help to communicate complex information quickly and effectively to the reader. So, it combines text and graphics such as charts, images, and maps to convey information in a way that it's easier to understand. And since I am a student who will be discussing on how to create the infographic designs, I should know the basic learnings or information about creating a infographics. So, how do we create a infographic? So, firstly, you need to plan your infographic design. So, to create a plan, you should first find a story. So, you might be wondering why need to find a story. To answer that is because finding a story will create a unique bloom in your content or in your designs. And since creating infographics include planning, it is a must to find one that could pique the interest of the reader and for them to understand it easier. And you will also determine how to include information from a story you want to tell. So, I have one example here that tells a story of completing a project from start to finish. And you can see that it uses different kinds of elements and how it pertains to the step-by-step of the timeline. And to the next step on how you create your infographic, you should secondly create an infographic outline. Before diving into your design, create an infographic outline. So it means creating an infographic outline before you dive into the design phase is important because it helps to ensure that the visual representation of your information is clear and effective. An infographic outline provides a blueprint for your infographic that guides your design choices and ensures that you are including all of the necessary information in a logical and organized way. The outline will help you to create a clear and concise story that your audience can easily follow and understand. By creating an infographic outline before you start designing, you can reduce the risk of having a major mistake or major changes from your previews or revisions to your designs once you have already put a significant amount of time and effort in it. So it means mas mabuti ng gumawa ka ng outline or plano nga or para may masundan ka para sa mga sunod or kapag nagawa mo na agad yung design mo is meron kang step by step na pwede mong sundan para hindi ka magkamali. So for you to finish your infographic, you should come up with a title that is catchy and descriptive. And because it is important for several reasons. First, a catchy and descriptive title can help to grab the attention of the target audience. So, encouraging them to read and engage with the visual representation of the information, this can increase the likelihood of the infographic being shared and distributed to a wider audience. So, it means may posibilidad na magkalat yon or kumalat upang mas maintindihan or mas malaman ng iba dahil nga ang title na ginawa mo or na-come up mo is catchy. So it means nakuha yung attention nila para makita nila yung infographic na nagawa mo. So the second one is a well-crafted title can help to accurately describe the content and themes of the infographic, providing the reader with an idea of what to expect before they even begin to read or engage with the visual representation. This can help the reader to quickly understand the purpose and relevance of the infographic, can make it easier for them to find and retain the important information that they need. So, sa pamamagitan nga ng magandang title or descriptive at catchy mong title is sa pamamagitan nun ay malalaman agad nila, sa pagkakakita pa lang nilang title, malalaman agad nila na ganito, na maganda yung content ng infographic na ginawa mo and mas maiintindihan nila yon ng mabuti. And to the next one, use a grid design or wireframe for your infographic design. So, grids and wireframes are the structural base to any design. And designing on a grid allows you to easily organize elements and information. Grids design also play an essential role in keeping objects and elements aligned. So dahil nga ang grids and wireframes ay structural base kahit sa anong design na nakapaloob sa infographic. So they provide the framework for the visual layout and organization of the content. Grids are used to create consistency and harmony in the design, while wireframes are used to plan the composition and layout of the elements in the infographic. Without grids and wireframes, the design may appear disorganized, disjointed, harder to navigate. They also ensure that the infographic is cohesive and visually appealing, making it easier for the reader to understand and interpret the information. So, it means sa pamamagitan daw ng grid ay mas maganda yung kakalabasan dahil nga meron kang sinusundan and meron kang nakikita kung pantay ba or nagbe-blend ba siya sa design ng infographic mo. So, ang wireframe naman ay para makaplan ka at mas madali at mas ma-layout mo ng maayos yung elements mo. So, an infographic design can potentially have any size of margin you desire, but it's important to keep the margin consistent all the way along the edge of your canvas, and that's because keeping the margin consistent all the way along it's creating a visually appealing and balanced design. Having inconsistent margin can make the design look disjointed and unbalanced. It is also important to choose a margin size that will allow your content to shine and be seen clearly. And a good rule of thumb is to keep all objects and elements at least 20 px, or we all know that 1 square on the grid away from the edge of the canvas, because it is generally recommended to keep all the elements of the design away from the edges of the canvas, because this gives the design some breathing room and allows the elements to stand out more. Keeping elements at least 20 px away from the edges of the canvas is a good rule of thumb because it provides enough space without making the design look too cluttered. So, it means hindi siya madumi tignan kapag hindi siya nakasiksik sa gilid ng content mo or ng canvas mo. So, sa pamamagitan nun ay nagpo-provide siya ng enough space para magandang tignan or mas maayos tignan ang content doon sa loob ng infographic mo.
Hi, I am Denrick Ainselda and I will be the next person to discuss about infographics. And now, let's begin. Use the right infographic layout for your data. For example, you could use a one-column layout for a minimal graphic or create a list infographic by splitting the layout into 2 columns. Like in this example. It has shown in this example that there are 2 columns. The first column, it has a information by step, and then the other column, it shows the winter or the checklist for winter. So these 2 are separated because they are not the same perspective or it has the same information. So that's why they had 2 columns. In this picture, this is one of a example of 2-column infographic also. And now let's proceed to follow data visualization best practice. Always start your infographic planning with pen and paper. This way you can work through concepts and design truly before finalizing a digital copy. Yes, it is important for us to first draw our planned infographic than already using digital copy, because if we use digital copy first, our infographic will turn out bad because we didn't plan out first by drawing it on a paper. So our design for our infographic will turn out not good. And now, let's proceed to the choose the best chart types for your data. The types of data you are trying to convey will determine which chart type is the best for your data. To decide which type of chart would best convey your data, you first have to determine what kind of data you want to present. A single important number, a comparison between data points, a trend over time, an outlier. The types of chart most commonly used is infographics or pie chart, bar graphs, column graphs, and line charts. For example, a column graph is one of the easiest way to compare data. So this is one of the examples. Most popular, frequently used social platform. So in this infographic, it shows that the frequently apps that have been used for social platforms. So our number one here is Facebook. It has a 71%. Next is Instagram. It has a 52%. So this infographic shows us about the frequently used of social platforms. So infographics makes it easier to explain to us about things that is happening, or it depends on the infographic that he wants to show. And to convey trend over time, the most common type of chart to use is a line chart. So this kind of chart is always used by a business dealers, a company that wanted to show in the chart if their company will go up or it will go down. So this chart is always used by a company or a company meeting and something like that. Most of us see this kind of chart in TV, YouTube, and even Google. But if you think of a more unusual chart that would convey the data effectively, don't be afraid to get more creative. For example, you can identify and show the trends such as sales over time, correlation such as sales compared temperature, or outliers such as sales in unusual area. So, for example, this picture, first is the trend. Example is ice cream sales over time. Correlation, ice cream sales versus temperature. Outliers, ice cream sales in unusual region. Rule of thumb is that your chart should be easy enough to read, that it only takes readers 10 seconds or less to understand. And next is incorporate different infographics design elements. And first is typography. Typography is a very important element for infographic design, and your one way to explain your ideas and information when images, graphs, or icons can. That's why it's important to choose the best font for your data. That being said, trying to limit the amount of text you include on your infographic, the best infographic have visual impact, which the text acting as a secondary explanation for the visual content. The infographic design relies on icons, dates, and headers, which minimal explanatory text. As you can see in this picture, it has shown the timeline by 2002, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, up to 2010. First and foremost, make sure your type is legible. Legible means that it can be seen by the readers. In most cases, avoid decorative or script type as it tends to be hard to read. If you have to use small text or an elegant font, use it sparingly. It always helps to increase the line heights of body of small text if it starts to become hard to read. To keep infographics design cohesive, limit your use of fonts to a maximum of 3 types, but also don't stick with just one. A tasteful use of 2 brand fonts can create a nice dynamic and hierarchy of information. Alternatively, a number of statistics in one font type next subtext in another creates a hierarchy of information. For this example of picture.
Good day, sir. I'm Rowan Layhans Ibintes from BSHM 1D. Use photography in your infographic design. The use of photography can be tricky if there is not a photographer available to take the shot of exactly what you need. Be sure that the photos you use have a consistent style and lighting. If you're going for a simple modern use of photography, use only image with flat color or white backdrops. If you are going for a neutral newspaper approach, use only black and white image. Photos that take up majority of space in your infographic, which can distract from information. This issue can be solved by using a cropping such as circle frames. Ano yung sabihin ay, mas mayad nga magamit kita ng mga background nga neutral or mga white background lang or flat colors. Ag iwasan gid naton do mga tag sa mga photos nga ron nga may mga space dahil nakaka-distract imo ron ag miskin ito magtanaw tag mga tao sa imo ning ubre ito tanan-tanaw sa kung saga dahil nakaka-distract ani imaw tan-awon. Use contrast in your infographic design. Contrast creates visual effects by placing 2 strictly different elements beside each other. If an infographic has a light background with bold color shapes, our eyes are immediately attracted to the bold colors. This allows you to organize information by having a certain element more prominent than other. Contrast using colors. Color section can have a big impact on your infographic design. Try pairing complementary colors to make your headline pop. One of my favorite combination is a darker blue with a brighter color like orange, which makes your headline stand out. Contrast using typography size. A header is usually the largest text on infographic, followed by the subheader and the body copy. The header should pretty much always be the largest font size so that the viewer knows the subject of your infographic right off the bat. Contrast visual. Maybe the simplest form of contrast is purely visual. It often includes colors such as black and white or green and purple. Create symmetrical and asymmetrical balance. An infographic with visual balance is pleasing to the eyes because everything fits together seamlessly. A balanced infographic keeps the entire composition cohesive, especially in a long-term infographic. If there are heavy visual on the top of infographic, you should keep the flow going right to the bottom. There are 2 types of balance: the symmetrical and asymmetrical. Symmetrical balance is when each other of the composition has equal weight. This layout is effective in a comparison infographic like this one. Asymmetrical balance is more natural and less uniform than a symmetrical composition. It creates a more complex relationship between objects. It can make an infographic more dynamic since the composition is not repeatedly excessively. For example, if you are creating timeline infographics, Alternate text between both sides of the talon for a balanced composition. Use color effectively. Decide one of the color scheme before creating your infographic. A good rule of thumb is to design your infographic with 2 or 3 main colors, and to use minor color accents when using your color scheme. Decide on the tone of your infographic. It is a business infographic. If so, try using neutral colors like blue or green, or of course your brand colors, especially if you're including your logo. For fun, eye-popping infographics, use bright tones, but be careful not to use large amount dark or neon colors as they can be straining to the eyes when viewed on the web. Color can also be used as a sectional tool. Add blocks of colors to section your infographic. Giving the eye some breathing room is a viewer scroll.
Make sure there's consistency in your infographic design. In order for your infographic design to flow from start to finish, the design elements need to be consistent. If you are using icons that are filled in, rather than line art icons, then keep using the same style throughout the entire infographic. So if you are using a design or a background, make sure that it is the same from start to finish to make your presentation simple but readable. A brief history of technology. The first Apple computer was released in April 1976. This was the first computer readily available to the general public. For the most part, society was pretty green to the whole concept. In 1980, other companies like IBM started creating personal computers and others followed shortly after, searching for new ways to introduce devices into people's everyday lives. Next, in 1990, the technological advancements made in the 90s was revolutionary.